Welcome to Discovering Grayslake, a podcast dedicated to the stories and people that make our town truly unique. Join us as we sit down with local business owners, community leaders, and everyday residents to hear their tales of triumph, struggle, and everything in between. From the little-known historical gems to current events shaping our community, we'll cover it, all in an engaging and informative way. I'm your host, David Wool, and together we'll discover the heart and soul of our town, one story at a time. Today's podcast is brought to you by the lovely folks at Keller Williams North Shore West at the Sinkmars Group. Motivated not by numbers, but by helping you feel at home in our community. Jody Sinkmars and her team are committed to serving Grayslake and its neighbors with the utmost care. Call Jody today at 847-767-7358 or visit the Sinkmars Group online at sinkmarsgroup.com to get started on the path for the home you love right now. This podcast is also brought to you by the Cashmore Financial Group. Financial advice for everyday people. Turn your financial stress into financial success. Call us today, 847-231-6150. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back with another episode of Discovering Grayslake. God, I sound like a broken record half the time. I'm here with Nano Engdahl. Did I say it correctly? Yes. Okay, so Nano was talking because I just asked her how to pronounce your last name, and you're considering going to like the Madonna kind of thing?
Right. Most people just know me as Nano, and for many reasons we joke saying, why don't I just be Nano like Prince, Cher, Madonna?
You do have that personality.
Well, no, not that personality, just to make it easy because my last name's a little tricky to pronounce, and I feel bad. I don't ever want to correct someone. I feel bad if they get it wrong, so just call me Nano.
Okay, so welcome to the Grayslake podcast. I'm here with Nano. Is that better?
There you go.
Okay, so how long have you been in Grayslake?
30 years.
30 years.
Yes,
in Grayslake.
which I cannot even believe that, but yes.
It's crazy. So you've got to see how this town has changed a lot over the last 30 years.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes.
What do you think the biggest changes in Grayslake have been over the last 30 years? Besides, obviously, population.
Well, really the population, and to see all these subdivisions pop up, because I worked in town before living here. What did you do? I was a dental assistant
for
like 11, 12 years. But we lived in Gurnee, and I changed dental practices, and I worked for Jeff Maris here on Center Street.
Oh, I know Jeff.
And yeah, he's
a character.
He's a character for sure.
I rented from him.
Oh,
at
good.
the big red barn by the railroad tracks.
Oh my gosh! All right, and you're still here to tell the story.
Yeah, lots of bad things. There.
Went through a lot with Jeff. I was there working in the practice when he was building the second story, and yeah, it was.
And that second story up there is awesome.
It's beautiful. It is beautiful.
Oh,
yes.
Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay. It's a city loft in small town Grayslake.
Yeah.
But so I worked in Gurnee. I lived in Gurnee and was working here, and I fell in love with this town because growing up in Deerfield, we didn't really have a town. We had an intersection. It was Deerfield and Waukegan Road. There was no cute little village, but I lived at the border with Highland Park, and I always thought Highland Park was so cute with the off-street parking and all the row of shops. So when I saw downtown Grayslake, I knew eventually I wanted to move here. And then one of my best buddies from having our firstborns said, you got to move here.
Right.
So
and you did.
We did.
And that was 30 years ago.
30 years ago.
And she was 4 when she moved here.
Who was 4?
You were 4.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Maybe that other cup of coffee will kick in pretty fast here. We're doing okay. All right, so you were a dental hygienist first.
Assistant. And then an office manager for Jeff. So helped run the front end, and then chairside assistant. I thought about going to hygiene school, but when I was thinking about that, I already had one baby at home, and the thought of not helping to bring in some money, but also the time of being away and going to school for it, it was not going to happen.
Right. Okay, so what did you do after that?
Had another baby, and then decided it was smarter to just be able to stay home if the opportunity was there, which it was. I was very blessed. I got to be a stay-at-home mom for several years.
That's awesome.
When my youngest went into, kindergarten? things had changed, and I needed to, as we say, help bring home some bacon.
Right.
And so kind of on a New Year's Eve dare, said, okay, if you want to do something, what are you going to do? And let me know tomorrow. And so the next morning I thought, okay, people say sometimes you find your career in a passion.
Yep.
And I've always been somewhat that nosy neighbor that wanted to see the inside of your house. I wanted to know what you paid for your house. I actually sat at not a Tupperware party, but I can't think what it was called back then. And I put two people together. I knew someone was moving, and this other gal at the party wanted to move to the neighborhood. And I said, well, you need to talk to so-and-so. And they connected, and they sold their house. And so I thought, well,
that was easy.
I could do that and get paid for it. So
and how many years ago was that?
This is my 20th anniversary of being in real estate. September is 20 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And again, I can't believe it's 20 years of that either.
Right. So I'm going to ask you two questions you told me not to ask you.
Oh, boy.
Perfect. I know she should see the look on her face right now. I'm the little brother again.
Mm-hmm.
So how many houses have you sold in Grayslake?
Okay, don't ask me that.
Let's talk about your numbers.
No,
let's talk about your numbers because I know how important
that.
they are.
No.
Why don't you like to talk about numbers?
This is one of the things that's different about me. I don't like to track my numbers. I will go to my wonderful managing broker if I need to know them, if someone wants to know them, because for me that takes away the joy of it.
Sure. Which
I think there's that saying, if you love what you do, it's not work.
Right.
And that's how I view it. I'm not in this to tell somebody that I have sold, 5,000 houses and I've made this many millions of dollars. I went into this kind of with the healthcare aspect that I want to help people. I know that sounds corny. A lot of people will say that about what they do, but I really mean it. So it's more about the person, the people that I'm helping, getting the job done, having them know they can count on me to get them through it and move on and pass my name on to someone else. So if you put me under a microscope right now to tell you a number, I have no idea. I'd have to call the boss.
We signed a lot of, when we were doing the DJ business for so long, people say, well, how many weddings did you do last year? I said, well, we did 225 weddings, but the thing to the employees, my coworkers all the time is we are only as good as our last job. Mm-hmm. So you're only as good as your last client, right?
Right.
And the past doesn't mean anything. It just gives you experience.
Right. I mean, for some people that might be important, and like I said, if they really need to know that, if I'm up against another realtor trying to, get a listing or whatever, I'll get that for you, but that's just not how I roll.
But that's just a marketing thing for realtors, right? They say how well they've done. I guess a lot of people do that.
I have a hard, you know me. I've said to you, I have a hard time patting myself on the back. I feel very blessed. This has worked out beautifully, and I still love this crazy job.
And everybody in town speaks extremely highly of you.
Well, that's very kind.
Yes. As she's blushing. All right, so let's talk about our town, because one of the reasons that I started this is I wanted to make sure to bring to light maybe people that give back to our community that actually make our town a better place. And I know that you have your hand in a lot of stuff, and excuse me because I don't know exactly what you do, but I guess we're all going to learn, everybody listening right now. So you're involved with the chamber, correct?
Right. I became a director this year, which...
Director?
I love that. So I'm on that board of directors because I've always wanted to be involved in it. Like I said, this is this small town that I always wanted to live in. Mm-hmm. And I think we're a very special place. When we first moved here, a lot of people from my past, growing up were like, Grayslake, where's Grayslake? So I'll do anything to help promote the town, especially because what I do for a living, we want people to live here. So I better know what's going on. So, I mean, from volunteering at the school when the kids were little and being parts of different foundations, that's just been my MO. But now I'm on the board for the Heritage Foundation with the museum. So we're on the fundraising side of the historical museum. Oh. So the way to explain it is that we're the ones that raise the money to keep the lights on for the exhibits.
Right.
Then director on the chamber.
I just saw your name on. Didn't you sponsor one of the bands at the?
Yeah, I'll sponsor anything I can, especially when it comes to music. Music was a big part of my childhood.
Your phone's gonna light up right now. Anybody listening that needs a sponsor
yeah.
for music.
But that's the thing. I mean, I'll sponsor the beer fest. I love beer. I think everyone knows that.
What do you sponsor the beer fest? Probably the
VIP tent.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. But I love craft beer. I loved craft beer before people even knew what craft beer was. Right. So I'll sponsor that. But besides, say, throwing money at stuff, I will volunteer. I will be there. I will show up. I will help set up. I will help break down. I will help, float and help. So to me, it's a combination of both of that.
So how did you get hooked in with the Historical Society? Is it something that you went there? Or
well, what's funny is I didn't show you around my house, but I've always loved vintage. I love antiques. I go antiquing, all that kind of stuff. So I used to say I wanted to get on the Historical Society, and it was like on Wednesday nights, and for some reason I can't remember why I didn't. But then I had Marcy Molick, who's fabulous here in town. She reached out and said, Nana, we need some board members, and I know you love the museum. I know you like history and all that. Would you want to jump on board? And I'm like, sure.
Sounds like
fun. Yeah. So,
wow.
I mean, it's all, planning for the events that are fundraisers, like the wine walk and the history maker, bubbles and brews, and, things like that we do to raise money.
Two of those things I didn't even know that went on in town. I'm sorry.
Oh, well.
What's Bubbles and Brew?
Bubbles and Brew is in October, and it's where we choose someone in our town to win an honorary award saying thank you for what you've done for our town, giving back to our town. Last year, Esper Peterson won, and unfortunately he got COVID and could not come into town, which was such a disappointment. We've just now decided who's winning it this year. I cannot divulge that yet.
Right, because this is going to release pretty close to that. So.
But, we're just rolling out the invite that you'll be able to find online. I think we're going through Eventbrite, but that'll be going out around town, too.
Cool. Who votes for that? How do you decide the winner of that? Is that like the board?
It's our board.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of candidates in there. It'd be hard
to choose. Yes, it is hard. What's nice is that we keep those names and then we'll revisit it the next year.
That's
so
cool.
We'll hope to keep going with that.
How fun.
Yeah.
How much did you learn at the museum over there? I'm sure when they asked you to come on, you knew a lot about Grayslake. But...
Well, the part I'm in is more about fundraising, so I'm not a part of the beautiful, exhibits that they have and all that. But I have learned that is a lot of work. That is a lot of work. People that work in museums, plan for the exhibits, that is a true calling.
Right, and I would like to encourage everybody that hasn't been there to go check it out.
It is super cool.
It is great.
It is super cool.
You would never know.
No. It's bigger than you think, too.
It is, and it's multiple floors, too. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have 2 exhibits in there.
Oh.
How about that? I think they all have to do with weather, because I'm an idiot and flew my drone over tornadoes.
Oh, really? Oh, you're like me.
And the flood that we had a couple of years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, too. Oh. So, but it's documented, see?
Very cool.
I do have value, Nano.
Yes, well, we know that.
My older sister, or my younger sister, agrees. She doesn't have to yell at me right now.
No.
So cool. So you're involved with all of that stuff. It seems like it's really cool to see a community because there's a lot of different sponsors, but you seem to see the same reoccurring people that really come out and support our town.
I've seen that in many aspects of everything, even back when we were very involved in St. Andrew's Church. Oh. There were always the same group of us that was there for if you remember, Italian feast and all those spaghetti dinners and all. So that's just how it is. There's usually this posse of people that are going to show up. Yeah, and I love being part of that posse.
Right, and it's good because it's a very small population of people that do that. There's some crazy quote that, if there's 100% of the people out of the volunteers are like the same 3% all of the time, and they do 95% of the work. So 3% do 95% of the work.
See, you just rolled off a bunch of stats that I could never remember.
I'm not into numbers, Nana. I can tell you how many listens that people listen to the podcast. So we're averaging like 4. So a lot of people are really enjoying this.
No, your podcast
all 4
is cool.
People. Thank you.
Very cool.
Well, I appreciate you being here with me. All right. So as I walk up to your house, we had an interesting conversation because there's some really cool things I didn't know about you and about your family and things like that. I got to stop saying things like that. Tell me a story about your grandfather.
Well, this is a grandfather that I never got to know.
Which makes it even more interesting to me.
But I really wish I had. So I have a weird passion, another career. If life had allowed it to happen, I would have loved to have been a funeral director. And because of that, I seem to collect in my flea markets and antique fairs funeral-related items. And I hope no one takes offense to this, but I do it more out of whimsy, just because it's something near and dear to my heart. That it was growing up, going to Michigan with my mom. We'd always go visit the old funeral home where Grandpa had worked, and that was just part of the discussion growing up. My brother would have done the same thing if he could have too.
Right.
So I do have various things around my house. What's funny is out front when you walked up, there's the sign that says funeral parking.
Yes. I did not park there.
I have had, when I've been out in the driveway, when like an Amazon or UPS driver has come up, they've walked up and said, "Oh, is this a funeral home?" I'm like, "No, it's just there kind of as an inside,
Right.
joke." So.
Right. It's part of your story.
That's just part of my story.
Okay, so you never knew your grandfather.
No.
How did he get into funeral home business?
He was a very interesting man from everything I've learned. He was an inventor and all that, but he was a mechanic by trade. And small town of Sparta, Michigan, when the hearse and ambulance, because back then ambulances went and picked people up.
Okay.
So when that ambulance would break down, they'd bring it to my grandfather's shop to fix. And for whatever reason, he said, "This keeps happening. This would be a shame if they're in the middle of something and it's breaking down." So he said, "Maybe I should become a funeral director, and then I can fix my own broken down ambulance and hearse." And
that's
how he got into it. Yes.
That's crazy, because you have a really cool lighted sign up there as well.
Yes, I got that from American Pickers, that show?
Yeah.
They had a store in outside of Nashville, and it was in there, and I saw it, and that dates back probably to, this would have been what, the 30s, 20s, 30s, when Grandpa was doing this. That's what it was. So that's a funeral home sign that's funeral home and ambulance service.
Wow.
So I said I had to have that.
Yeah.
Had to have that.
What's the odds of you running into that?
Maybe it was a sign.
I know. Well, that's really cool, and I don't think people So do you still have a passion that you would do that?
Yes, I actually had contemplated that also. I was in nursing school. That's what I was going to college for. And I really liked my anatomy lab. And I wasn't sure that nursing was what I was going to completely go into. I don't know why really, but so I came home on summer break and I tried to get a job in hospitals like a nurse's aide, but things were changing. You now had to have a certificate. You couldn't just show up for summer help in the hospital. And that also sidetracks how I became a dental assistant, because I was able to find a job in a dental office and just kept with that for a long time. But I thought about going to mortuary science school, and it would have actually been the same school my grandfather went to, Worsham College,
Wow.
which still exists. I can't elaborate too much, but I was told that if I did that, something else was not going to work out, so I just didn't do it, and I regret that. But life just never worked out for going back to school for that, because back when I was looking at it, that was going to be a 2-year, because I thought about it, I think, with my firstborn, that was going to be a 2-year constant, again, going to school.
Right.
And I had other responsibilities of being a mom.
Wow. It seems like every profession or your callings, everything that you've decided to do are really all in service, whether it's nursing, whether it's dental hygienist. And
Yeah.
I don't think people understand that, the funeral business, talk about the ultimate service, but it has to be treated with compassion and really helping people.
Oh, absolutely. And when I've been lucky enough that they need me and my schedule allows, I will help out over at String.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm a part-time person there. But they're wonderful there. They've been, Mark, Richard, they've been very supportive.
I absolutely love her.
Yeah,
I don't know Mark very well.
Everyone over there is so awesome, funny. I mean, caring. They're a great bunch of people. Yeah. So I do miss not helping out more, but they just know they can call if they need me.
Right. They are great guys over there, and
gals.
Gals. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Yes. Unfortunately, I've had to have two really intimate experiences with them, but they treated everything with complete kindness and compassion, and really know how to take care of people there.
Yeah. No, they took care of the semi-arrangements with both my parents because.
I didn't expect a laugh.
Oh yeah. Well, because my brother and I, we planned things differently when Mom and Dad had passed away, and we really got into huge celebrations of life. I mean, this was a musical, theatrical thing that we'd always do down at Northwestern at Alice Millar Chapel. So unfortunately, Strang didn't get the full care package with us, but they helped with everything else.
Right. See, it's celebrations of life,
love them.
Which I think is the best, because it really is about celebrating the life rather than. I know there's mourning that goes with it, obviously, but the celebration is a big part of it. More
and more people are doing that.
I like your style. I like the way you approach everything like this. This is good.
Thank you.
So you're obviously full swing right now selling houses all over the place.
That's the bones of my existence, yes.
Yes. How much of a I always talk about like the things, the struggles but it seems like real estate is one of those things that, man, it can go from gangbusters to everything, from the way the market goes, the way people sell their houses. It's a lot to adapt to.
Right. And in 20 years, I've seen it all. You know, it's a roller coaster ride. I've learned to be better about budgeting, saving, right. Because you have to save for that rainy day. You know, I started in 2003, and it was very easy to get a listing, get it out there in the market, and have it sold, and then went into seeing the crash coming. 7, 8, 9.
Well, I think selling the houses too, it was a lot easier because people could buy houses a lot easier because they were giving loans to me.
Well, and I remember thinking, because I still thought I was a rookie.
Okay.
Back then, like, say those first 5 years, you really are learning your way. And I still feel like I'm learning my way because things change so much, technology and all that. But back then, I remember being suspicious of some of these weird phone calls I'd get from lenders about a buyer. And it really was, we said, if you had a pulse, you were getting a loan.
Right.
And I kept saying to myself, this doesn't seem right. And hence what happened.
Right. So since then, it just goes up and down.
It's up and down. And
where's it at right now?
Write it out. My word is that it's weird. It's weird. COVID definitely changed things, and it changed it for what we weren't anticipating. We thought it was going to be, say, dead as a doornail and on lockdown, and I really thought I was going to have the neatest, most organized house ever because I was going to be home. I would have nothing to do. That didn't happen, so hence I still am somewhat unorganized here. But it's been some of the best years I've had. Granted, don't know a stat, but it's changed. But so right now, I say I feel like we're kind of stuck and not knowing where the engine of the train is. Which direction are we going? Because you have sellers that would like to sell and take advantage of selling it for a really nice price,
sure.
But depending on their situation, they don't want to give up the rate that they have, which I totally get. Right. So they don't want to go buy something new with a mortgage. People that say they're retiring and going to, the Carolinas and all that, they're like, oh my gosh, the prices there are so high, and I still love my house here. So sellers don't really want to budge.
Right.
And then buyers, poor things, first-time home buyer, they're having to, donate their blood or their firstborns to win out in an offer. Right. And that it breaks my heart. Because like I said, I'm trying to help people. Right. And at some point, they just can't do it. So we do still see multiple offers. It's just the inventory is low. So the amount of transactions, when you watch the median, it's just there's not a lot to choose from. And so therefore there's not a lot of activity going on. But when there is something available, it's usually gone quite quickly.
Yeah. And that's one thing I've noticed because I obviously follow a lot of realtors and everything on Facebook, and it's fun to see like, houses on the market or friends that are selling their houses. Like, we didn't even get a sign up and the house is sold. Yeah, and for me as a real estate drone photographer, it sucks because the houses suck because we don't even need aerial photos of them.
Well, what was
selling so fast?
Speaking of that, I didn't even think about the whole trickle down theory on that because yes, I work with people like you, drone. I work with stagers. My go-to stagers, they've been really slow because we haven't necessarily needed to stage a house.
Right.
And then I didn't think about this until the other day. Our home inspectors too.
Right.
Because so many people have been waiving home inspections. So it's not just that there's not a lot of activity. It's that of the activity, some buyers were saying, I'm not going to even do an inspection.
Why would they waive the home inspection? Because they want to get faster in just to tell the people I'll take it as is?
Right. To have an upper hand on another offer.
That's scary.
It is scary. It is scary. And because I don't know how to fix a thing, I would never advise that.
Right.
But it's buyer's decision.
Right. Okay, so because you've been in Grayslake so long, and especially the way the housing market goes, when we talk about the real estate thing like that, is Grayslake, it's not unique to what's going on. This is the same thing. Like if we were to go to Libertyville, if we go to Mundelein, is it the same problems with inventory and selling? Is it just all over the place?
That's thing? My perspective. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it's very, very similar across the board.
So if you had to give somebody looking for a house advice right now, it's kind of hard because if they're a first-time home buyer or anything, like what do you do? Is it a good time to sell? Is it a good time to buy?
Yes. I mean, we know it's a definitely great time to sell a home. I mean, I always say everyone has their own story. They're coming to me with a reason that they need to sell, and they're coming to me with a reason that they have to buy. If they've educated themselves on that, then, let's go for it. I'm there to give whatever advice and perspective that I can. Ultimately, it's their decision what and when and how they want to do it. Owning a home is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So if that's what you want to do, go for it. Right. There's a saying that we've been talking about, and it's kind of cornball, but truly people have probably heard this before. Right now you are marrying the house. You're going to be there for a while. Otherwise, right. I don't think you'd buy it. So you're marrying the house and you're dating the rate that you get your mortgage on. You can refinance that if the rates go down. You can do ARMs. There's different ways of not tying you into a high rate. So look at it that way. Things can change and you can change how you've financed it. But historically, the first-time home buyers, especially if they're of a certain age, they don't know that back in the 70s, I always use my brother as an example. His first mortgage was, I think, 17%.
Yeah.
And I know my first home purchase was 8%.
Yes.
So right now, today it's like 7.5%. I feel like, okay, that's when I was a first-time home buyer, and I did it at 8%.
Right. I think when my parents moved to Grayslake, they lived on Burton Street, and I think I remember them. They bought the house for like $35,000.
Oh gosh.
And the interest rate was like 14%.
Yeah.
And no one in their right, in the world we live in, no one would buy a house at 14% interest rate, right?
No. It would seem crazy. But, home buying and selling is always going to go on. Right. It just might not always be at the same level.
Wow. So how long are you going to sell houses for?
Till I die. Seriously. I picture myself being that little old lady with my hair up in a bun. Might be walking with a cane.
Right.
But if you want me out there in the trenches showing you a home, I will definitely do that. I will always have some helpers behind the scenes doing more of the techie stuff that is not what I went into this to do, but right. I know I need to do it. So.
Oh, I know you're really techie.
Yeah.
I've sent you files before. Yes, I'm glad that you have helpers.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
We can talk about that off the air.
I can tell you what your
yeah. I have my go-tos to say. Can you open this for me?
Right. Exactly. Tell me a story of one of your favorite people that you've sold a home to, or a really cool story.
Oh my gosh.
Because I know you've sold. We're not going to go with numbers of how many.
No.
Or one of your coolest clients that you've ever had.
Oh my. Oh.
See, I'm not kidding you. You're not supposed to be prepared.
I know.
For stuff like
this is why being prepared would be helpful.
No.
Because this is going to sound corny. There's been so many wonderful stories. There's been crazy stories.
Tell me one.
This is when I first started. One of my first listings. And it was kind of a volatile situation in the household. And lo and behold, in the midst of it, I get a phone call that one of the owners was now locked up in jail.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, now what do we do?
Did you do closing?
We did eventually. One of the homeowners, he did get out of jail in time for us to continue with everything and be able to, sell the house.
Yeah, that's a situation you wouldn't think.
Yeah,
would
you just
happen.
you never know. I've been so blessed that your client, many times your clients become your friends. I don't at closings if everyone's there, because that's very rare these days that people are actually there in person. But I'm gonna hug you. We're usually hugging. I'm not a hand. I'll shake your hand if you need to, but I'm gonna hug you. But I've been blessed to be invited to weddings from clients.
That's so cool.
Go to baby showers. I'll go to funerals if need be when I've had clients pass away, which is sad. But they become part of my people. Yeah. I think that's one of the things I hate the most about the job, because you get very, very, very close through this transaction, whether it's buying or selling. I mean, you learn a lot about people. Very emotional. Right? And so when it's over, especially when my sellers move away, yeah. I'm sad.
I bet you
I'm
are.
sad because you're talking to them probably every day, a few times a day. You're over there. You get to know the family. You get to know the dog. You get to know everything. And then the moving van takes them away.
See? Quit doing such a good job, and then they'll stay around for a while, and you can have friends for longer. Way to screw that one up. All right, Nano, we're taking a little break here, and we're going to something we call the Grayslake Hot Seat, which I know that you're a fan of the podcast.
I am.
Woohoo! You haven't listened to them all, though.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. I'm too busy.
Right. When she's driving around or in your morning walk.
It's yes. Right? I will give everybody, if you need to get steps in, turn on this podcast and go for a walk.
Wow. And that advertisement was brought to you from Nano, also known as Madonna.
No.
All right. So the Grayslake Hot Seat is brought to us by our friends over at Barbecue Productions. I was just over with Chris at Station 51, actually, in Antioch. But yeah, he's just
fun.
My Third Lake is my favorite.
Yes.
I'm going to say. So thank you to the folks at Barbecue Productions for helping us out with the Grayslake Hot Seat. So I'm just going to throw some questions at you, and you're going to answer as fast as you can.
Yes, sir.
Cool. How many houses have you sold in your life?
Stop it.
Sorry. Had to do that, though. What's your biggest pet peeve?
That is not a normal one you ask.
So what, did you study beforehand?
Well, no, from listening. What is my biggest pet peeve?
Yeah. Besides, I have my feet up on our table right now in our house.
No. Biggest pet peeve?
Yep.
Asking me about stats.
Okay.
No.
Fine. All right. So how many burger or hot dog?
Okay, this is a joke. I have a very hard time deciding what I want to order places.
You're one of
so
those.
I like both for different reasons.
All right. So you can just get one of each.
Yes,
sure.
Please.
Okay. Favorite ice cream?
It's a weird combination, and what I love is my son does the same thing. Go to Baskin-Robbins, and I get a scoop of peanut butter and chocolate with a scoop of daiquiri ice. Wow. Beautiful combination.
All right, and there you have it. So now wow. Okay. Last show you've binge watched?
Oh, binge watched. Oh, Painkiller.
Don't know anything about that one.
Okay, it's more about the Sackler family with the opioids, which I'm drawing a blank on what it was called.
Yes.
But so, yeah.
All right.
Fascinating.
Awesome. I'll put it on my list. Yeah. Have you ever won an award?
Yes.
For what?
Well, I've been blessed with those numbers that I don't track.
Okay,
to get recognition through work with various awards that, every real estate company has different names for them, so I'm not going to bore you with that. But, things like that helps to keep you going because you're like, oh, I guess I know what I'm doing. And they give you an award to prove that you did have a good year.
Yeah, we are sitting in our trophy room right now.
You know what my most funnest award was?
I'd love to know.
Okay, I'll try to make it short. Years and years and years ago, there was in the Tribune an essay contest for the Wisconsin Department of Tourism. And you had to write an essay in, I can't remember how many words or less, which I learned a lot, words or less. But so I wrote a quick thing about a memory growing up going to the Pfister Hotel. My dad would always take us to the Pfister. He'd fill up a Chivas Regal bottle with dimes. When that was full, we took the train from Chicago to Milwaukee and spent the night at the Pfister. So I wrapped all that up in this little essay and said how I can still taste the pancakes from room service. And I won.
You won the essay contest.
I won in this essay contest. I can't even remember. I've saved it, but I wasn't the top winner. I was one of those, top 5. And it got me all these little getaways in Wisconsin. I took my family to a bunch of different places.
How cool is
from
that?
This essay contest. So that's probably my most favorite award I've ever won.
And a great story.
Yeah.
See? You probably wouldn't have thought of that in a long time
No,
if we wouldn't have talked like this.
Yeah.
Mayo or milk or what?
Oh, Mayo.
Does your car have a nickname?
I have 2 vehicles. I have my little convertible, which is the fuel-efficient one and fun to have.
With the license plate of Nano.
This is Nano.
Yeah.
And then I have my winter car and for hauling stuff, like helping stagers or even just getting things for the garden and just hauling things around. And then snow. I'm a big fan of the Hummer H3. This is my second one. My first one was black. This one's white, so I call her Snow White.
Oh, nice. Does the other one have a name?
No.
No, we got to work on that.
I know.
Are you a texter or a talker?
Oh, I'd rather talk to you on the phone.
Okay. Are you an Apple or an Android girl?
Apple.
Good girl. No green texts. No green texts.
No.
Do you prefer truth or dare?
Truth.
Wow. Nothing to hide. I know it's nothing to hide. What do you put on your pizza?
Again, I love all different kinds, but right now I crave Jardiniere, an Italian beef.
Oh, awesome. Favorite band?
Favorite what?
Favorite band.
Oh my gosh.
Musical band.
I love music.
Right. You don't have one. If there was a concert coming to town, who would be the one person you'd want to see?
Okay, everyone makes fun of me. I do have a crush on Steven Tyler.
Hey, they're at Soldier Field, I think, this weekend or next weekend, I think.
But I used to love Journey. I like a lot of different bands. See, I'm a huge country music person, too. So that's a tough question. I can't answer it just
Well, you were all over the place.
I am.
That's good.
I like variety.
What's the last thing you purchased on Amazon?
Oh, I just got it. I saw it in one of my magazines, a tissue pop-up holder to put your dryer sheets in.
Wow.
Is that smart?
Yeah, because
it's got a spring.
In there.
It's got a spring, and it fits dryer sheets. It's too small for Kleenex.
You're so passionate about this, it scares me. For sure.
I find joy in little things.
Okay, send me the link. I'm getting myself one so I don't have to dig.
It's beautiful. I'll show it to you. I love it.
Real world problems when you have to put your hand in that big box to get the dryer sheet out.
Yes, I don't want to dig for it. Plus, the box is not attractive.
Right. Okay, so how many times can you use a dryer sheet?
Once.
No.
Yes.
No. All right.
Okay.
We'll talk about that off air. Yeah, because I think you can use them more than once. Just saying. Okay. Yeah, somebody go ask somebody that today.
Yeah, I disagree.
Maybe
I'll agree to
Over
disagree.
my laundry room.
I'll agree to disagree.
What's your favorite candy?
Okay, here's a funny story. I used to be addicted to the sour cherry balls at Walgreens, and it had to be Walgreens brand. Guess what? They either changed who was making them, formula, doesn't taste the same. We broke up. I love sour, so now it's Sour Patch Kids, to a fault, which is bad. I keep a bag in my desk at the office. I keep them around the house, to the point where now I should stop buying them. I bought a jumbo bag recently of the jumbo size. They didn't taste very sour. I thought something was wrong with them. My dad used to do that. I called the company.
You did
And
not.
I said, because I thought something was off. They should know this. They were so nice.
How many did they send you?
They've sent me coupons to replenish 2 jumbo bags and thank me for my service.
Well, for your service. I love, if you've noticed with Nano, it's like, choose a number between 1 and 2, and she'll have a story for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually.
Which is great. Okay, I was looking for a good one but on here because you've listened to all the other ones. I'm going to come up with new ones. I promise by next week I'll have some. Because one of my favorite things is I would never do blank again.
I would never do blank again. Well, I don't think if you asked me to go whitewater rafting, did that up Shotgun Eddies in Wisconsin when I was in high school.
I've been there.
I have never been so terrified in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so don't invite her to do that.
No, don't ask me to do that.
Do you have a favorite sports team?
Again, variety. I mean, I was a hockey mom for a long time, so love the Blackhawks. Will always, even in their tough times. Pretty much raised as a Cubs fan.
Good girl.
But doing a lot of Wisconsin stuff. I've been following the Brewers.
Okay. Thank you for listening to Discovering Grayslake. We're out. How'd the Brewers do last night? Okay, you're not allowed to say that.
No.
Bad words, honey. Hey, if you have to like a team, at least that you choose them.
Yes.
Because of your time in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Pool or ocean?
Again, kind of torn, but usually a pool. That always looks so refreshing.
Oh, nice. Tell me about one of the times that you've been arrested.
Never.
You've never been arrested?
No.
She wouldn't tell
I'm
us
a good
anyway.
girl.
That was one of the other questions I wasn't supposed to ask her on here because she told me the entire story before we got on here.
Right.
And then I'll ask one final one because it's my favorite one and we always get different things on it, is how many days can you wear a pair of jeans without washing them?
Well, you want to say once.
No, I'm not asking what you want to say. I want the truth.
I would say 3.
I want somebody to write in that
put it this way, when
jeans
it's white, I'm wearing white jeans today, that's a one and done. Because without fail, you're going to get a smudge.
This is true. Maybe we should clarify that.
Yes.
Blue jeans.
Blue jeans.
Blue jeans. So you're the first one that brought that to light. Frank.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you again to Barbecue Productions for helping us out and sponsoring the show. Also, a big shout out to Jody Sinkmars and to Randy Cashmore, because without those guys sponsoring the show, none of this would be possible.
Yes.
That I just get to go out and hang out with people and find out about Grayslake. All right. So we've covered. I love your grandfather's story, by the way.
Thank you. I'm glad you do.
I think that's so cool, and especially like your antiques. And you live in this cute little house.
Yeah.
Right here, and we're like 3 houses from the high school.
I'm like 5.
5 houses from the high school. So you've lived in a couple different places in Grayslake.
Right. When we all first moved here, lived in Harrion Farm for that was about 4 years. Then moved over into West Trail. Lived there for about 11. And I've been in this house now about 7.
Hey, I did drone photography on your West Trail house, I think, when you were selling it.
Yes, you did.
That's good. That was a cute house.
Yes,
too.
you did. Yeah, that was on the pond. Yeah. That was good.
It's funny to see all the different neighborhoods, because where we're at right now. Okay, here's one for you, because you've been Grayslake a long time. Mm-hmm. My mother used to call this Klingerville.
You are correct.
Okay. Okay, so we're on Hillside, right behind the high school. Why was it called Klingerville? Because I don't think I know. Obviously the family name or something?
From what I learned, what was nice is the Historical Society did do a shout out to everyone that lived over here, and I think they do it to the whole village. And Charlotte hosted
Charlotte Renahan.
Yeah, Charlotte Renahan. Gotta love her. Did a shout out that they were going to do anyone want to come with stories and all that. In that, I wasn't raised over here, but I had heard rumor that that's what it was called, and I keep saying we need to have a block party and have like a Klingerville cook-off or something. But from what I understand, it was one of the families that lived on the street. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to get this wrong, but maybe it was one of those houses where you were maybe scared to go over there. You didn't want to go past the house or something. I don't know. But yes, there were the Klingers that lived here from what I understand.
Yeah, I think if anybody knows the answer to that, right?
Yeah, I feel bad. I should have. It's in the stuff I brought home from that.
I don't think, especially people that have only been here for 20 years or something, I don't think anybody would know anything about Quakerville.
Yeah. But it's a special neighborhood over here, encompassing Hillside, part of Prairie View, and then First and Second.
Right. So I wonder how everybody felt here when they made the cut through.
Oh, boy.
That was a huge thing in Grayslake.
Yeah,
I know that.
what is funny is I can talk from both sides of that.
Now you can?
Yes,
yeah.
Because it used to drive us crazy coming from, say, Harrion Farm, West Trail, when there were events going on, the parade, and they didn't always open that. And then when my boys were in sports, we would have loved to have just bebopped over that way, or taking them to school.
Right.
And so we hated that it wasn't open. Well, lo and behold, when I move over here and they open it, it changed the dynamic of the streets, and we don't have curbs, and and the road's kind of narrow if you think about it, and it's curvy. So the people driving to and from school, and just the traffic and all that, it just changed the vibe in the morning and the afternoons cutting through here. So I know some of the longtime residents were not happy they opened it.
Can you imagine living on that corner forever, and then they open up the road? They must have been furious.
Yeah, so I feel for everybody. Feel for everybody. There's pros and cons to it. I always thought, what an eyesore that would have been living next to that gate. Right. All those years. So at least it doesn't look like that.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And without the cut through there, with our train issues that we have.
Oh, yes.
And everything before that was open.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah, because I always try to find the quickest way. And I always take the light that I don't have to. If I can get over the tracks to get to this side, I get over as fast as I can.
Very funny.
Yeah, because I don't, or I'd go down Washington Street so I can go under. And then I don't have to get caught in Grayslake.
Yeah.
We can just do a whole train podcast.
You should think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do I talk to the train people, or just talk to everybody that's pissed off about the train?
Talk to everybody from both sides of the table.
Both sides of the tracks.
Yeah, both
the good
sides of the
side
track.
and
Very
the bad
good.
side of the tracks.
Very good. Very good.
Okay, so tell me, I know that you guys spend a lot of time on your social media stuff, and you're always posting stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's laughing because I guarantee that she doesn't do it.
Yes. Unfortunately, full disclosure, everyone, and I'm not in this for the technology of it. I have to be.
You have?
But it's not my specialty, and I feel leave that to people that know what they're doing with it. Right. So I am very, very blessed with the company I work for. Has a bunch of people that are part of my team. I do have an assistant that is my go-to gal, Lori. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori. I got to work with Lori.
Yeah, you know
Lori.
Files, yeah. But something that I just don't get, I call her, I call the office, and they're like, oh, easy peasy. So when it comes to posting, because everyone says that's all very important and all that, I leave that to the experts. I, of course, tell them what I'm thinking I want to post and all that. But it's a team effort for social media.
Where do people follow you at? Let's go on. You don't even know. Hold on. I'm opening up my... Okay, so...
Is it www.
No.
Nano Engdahl?
That would be your website, which they could go to that.
Yeah.
Which we're going to change just to nano.com. Right? Just because you...
I think that's taken.
Really?
Because here's the thing. That's the thing with the name Nano. That word's been around for a long time. Well, I always joke that when that became my nickname back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, I should have trademarked it. And then Apple would owe me a lot of money because everything was a nano this and a nano that and all that. So.
Okay, so Nano's a nickname.
Yes, I'm really Nancy.
I don't think that I knew that.
Seriously?
I don't think that I know that your name is Nancy.
Yeah, I'm Nancy.
I'm calling you Nancy from now on.
When I tell people that, they now start calling me that. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, if we took one thing out of the podcast today, now everybody knows your real name.
Yes.
Do you want me to edit that part out so no one knows?
No.
I'm kidding. No. I'm kidding. You should look on your face.
I'm like, what?
Okay, so if you're looking to follow Nano on Instagram, because she doesn't know.
Oh, my Instagram. Your Instagram
Sorry. Is Nano Knows Real Estate.
Yes.
All right. And nice posts on here. So follow Nano Knows Real Estate on Instagram. Do you know, is it the same on Facebook as well?
No, I think my Facebook, everyone laughs. My personal's a long thing. It's all my names. Okay,
so
no one's ever going to hire me now because
your strong suit is in social media personally.
No,
and technology.
it's I'm sorry, everybody, it's not.
Could you explain the difference between WeTransfer and Dropbox and the way that you retrieve your files for me?
Oh, there's so much to that, Dave. That no, again, this is why we joke saying I should just go by Nano, have everything say Nano.
Right.
Because, that has worked out for me. That's another quick story if you want to even hear it.
I would love to hear it.
I went one day, it was a cute story. I went one day on broker tour. In Grayslake, realtors, we used to do it a lot more, but new listings we'd put on broker tour on Mondays. And so I looked up what was on tour one day, went to this one house up on Allegheny, up by Jones Island, and I showed up, and the listing realtor wasn't there. Homeowner was there, and he was giving the tour. He said, my agent is sick and all that, so I toured the house. Okay, that house goes off the market. I think it was because of the housing market crash. Right. So years passed, and all of a sudden, I got an email out of the blue from this gentleman, and he said, I'm just making sure, are you the Nano that came to my broker tour when my agent was sick? And I knew, I remembered this story. And I go, yes.
Nano?
And I said, how did you remember me? Because it wasn't like there was a sign. He goes, I saw you drive away with your name on the license plate.
Ah, okay.
So
it's great advertising.
Keeping Nano in real estate was my broker manager. I said, Steve, my real name, my legal name is Nancy. He said, well, your license and everything has to have your legal name, but you can go by working as, and most people know me as Nano. So what's nice is you can find me in real estate just by Google Nano Realtor.
Right.
You're going to find me.
Right. Okay. So then how do you get nickname? I don't know anybody else with a nickname of Nano.
Okay, I'll try to shorten that. I always
have
have long stories.
No, I think it's great.
Okay.
Stories
It's a long story, and I don't want to bore people. All right. Growing up, I always thought my name was Nancy Joe. My mother always called me Nancy Joe. That was my name, Nancy, and then Joe, J-O. I go into, second grade, third grade, and you're learning cursive. And I'm writing my name, and my teacher comes over and says, that's not your name. No joke. I'll never forget this. I go, what do you mean? She goes, your name is Nancy Joanne Norland. And I said, well, but I go by Nancy Joe. So she wanted me to learn how to write my middle name, Joanne. Okay. So I went home, and I said, Mom, told me that Nancy Joe's not my name. And my mom said, well, that's what we call you.
Right.
But you're really Nancy Joanne. So that's why your teacher said that. But so my preschool years, elementary school years, I was always Nancy Joe, which, yes, now people are going to call me that too. Right. That's fine.
Could be worse.
So then you go to high school, and you get to be kind of, sassy. And I turned to my mom, and I said, I'm going off to high school, Mom. Nancy Joe, that sounds like we live on a farm.
Right, and that I'm on the prairie.
Little house. Exactly. And I said, I don't think that's cool. And she had a hard time dropping that Joe sound. And just one day, I became Nano. My mom named me Nano. She just didn't want to call me Nancy. She wanted to call me Nancy Joe. She knew I didn't want to be Nancy Joe. So I became Nano. So I've been known as Nano since I was about 14, 15 years old.
I think that's great. That's great. See, because I'm sure people that know you, how many people know that story?
Oh, a lot of people do. What's funny is I always worry that they think, do you have a personality disorder because you've had so many names.
We know the answer to that after listening to this, for sure.
But then I have some friends from grade school that I'm still in touch with. They don't want to call me Nano. They're like, you were Nancy Joe, or you were Nancy. And then my Nano, people in my Nano world are like, your name's Nancy? I can't call you Nancy. You don't seem like a Nancy.
I don't think I can call you Nancy, honestly.
No, that's fine.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me, because I didn't know. I thought when you started telling me the story about your license plate and how they remembered your name, I thought you were going to tell me that person nicknamed you that.
Oh.
Or they screwed up your name.
Nope.
Wow. We'll see. Okay, so now you know how to stalk Nano, because you'll see her driving around town. Do me a favor, just honk profusely at her.
Yeah.
If you see her around.
Well, what's funny is, mine is Nano too. When I first applied for that vanity plate, back when I first got a car, years and years and years and years ago, Nano has always been gone. And then Nano 1 is gone. And a few people really, have told me they have sometimes seen the Nano license plate here in Grayslake. I don't joke you.
Really?
Which is weird because I've had that plate since I got my license, really. So,
Wow.
yeah, so Nano, the original Nano license plate sometimes is in this town.
All right. Look
Yeah.
at them. Don't
But
honk
I'm
at
2.
them, though.
Yeah.
Nano 2.
Yeah, so I always say that's because I have 2 boys.
Nice. Okay, because of time, we're going to wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like the community to know about either what you do or something special about yourself that we need to share? I know we didn't talk I always want to make this so it's not a business podcast, but I think that
Yeah, I like that it's really not.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've learned stuff about you today.
Yeah, and hopefully it was worth learning.
We'll see. We'll see when the hate mail starts coming in. I think maybe you should just stick to your essays.
Yeah.
Just
I know.
you.
It's hard. I can't make stories short. Sorry.
No, I think it's wonderful. There's great stories that came out.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else you want to share?
No, I mean, it sounds corny sometimes, but I mean, I love this little town, and that's why I love the fact that you're doing this podcast. I've learned a lot about so many cool people in this town that you never would have known. So I think it's fun to hear their stories. So,
What's your favorite podcast been so far?
Oh, that's not.
Okay.
I can't do that.
Okay. What are one of your favorite things that you've heard on the podcast, like you said, learning about somebody? Because I've learned a ton.
Well, I got a kick out of Randy Cashmore. He is funny. And see, I didn't know he was a long-time Grayslake person.
Yeah.
But I like his saying. What is it? It's
about the average Joe?
No. Nice guys. No ties, nice guys.
Yeah, no ties, just nice guys.
Yeah, no ties, just nice guys.
And you know what?
I like that.
Actually, it really is how he does everything.
Right.
Didn't you tell me a story about Randy that...
Oh, no.
we can't go there?
It's nothing personal, Randy. No, it had to do with some... You know what? He was someone long ago we talked to for financial advice.
Oh,
and
yes.
Let's just say I liked Randy's advice. It was spot on. Would have worked for me. Didn't want to work for the other person, so didn't work out.
Right.
But I do like Randy's approach.
Yeah, he's got
he's got a good gig going.
Yeah. He's just so nice. It's like, how do you not like Bubba?
Yeah.
It's great.
And I loved your the pharmacy story.
Oh,
I think that's fascinating, and I think that's a real asset to the community too.
Apothecary.
Yeah.
See, I learned how to say a new word.
See, with my
Dr.
antique world, I see that word a lot.
And it's cool because it's like the old school,
Mm-hmm.
and I just love the personal service that they bring.
Yes.
I think it's cool, and he's such a good dude.
Yeah.
Love him.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for listening to those. Cause
Certainly.
It's fun. And now somebody's going to come back and say maybe one of your stories would be their favorite. That they've heard.
I would love that.
That's good. So write in. Give Nano some love. So once again, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors. Nano, thank you so much
Thank you.
for being with me today and allowing me into your home, especially after all the restraining orders and everything you totally ignored. And
we weren't going to talk about that,
right.
Dave.
And out on parole, I only have so much time to record. So thank you, everybody, for listening to Discovering Grayslake. And like I always say at the end, make sure, and I think that you did it, subscribe, whether you're listening on Apple, whether you're listening on Spotify or anyway. That way, every time a new episode comes up, they even come up on my phone, say, new episode is up. So it's a good way not to forget. And it's a good way to support our town and make sure to support all these people and everybody in Grayslake, people that we've interviewed so far and haven't interviewed yet. But we're going to get around to a lot of fantastic stories. I'm coming after Charlotte Renahan, I think. Wouldn't Charlotte be a wealth
If you can
of
get her to
information?
do it, that would be, everyone would tune in for that.
Yeah, I think we do like a spy cam. Maybe she doesn't know she's being recorded.
We'll talk about
All right,
that.
invasion of privacy. Right, that's another reason the parole and all the allegations will come say. So anyway, everybody have a great day, whatever you're listening, and make sure to go follow Nano, especially on Instagram and Nano Knows Real Estate, and anywhere else you can find her, or just simply Google Nano Real Estate. All right, everybody have a great day. Thank you again, Nano.
Thank you.